We need to talk about astrology. This video is by Lonnie's Lens. I've been following her, watching her for a minute. She brought up this video, and I think it's very important to talk about because a lot of people hate on astrology. Like, it's always been a thing where people are trying to disprove it, but I want to give my perspective on it, being that I do believe in astrology, and she does bring up some good misconceptions and some good counter arguments against astrology. So I want to delve into it. So hopefully, if you listening to this, if you don't believe in astrology, maybe you can start understanding why some people see the value in it. And if you are somebody who believes in astrology, maybe this will help you, give you some talking points when somebody tries to devalue it or something like that. But we're gonna get right into this. We're not gonna waste any more time. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. I took a little bit of a break, but I'm back. I'm making more videos, so don't even worry about it, guys. I'm here for you. Anyway, let's get right into this thing.
So let's talk about my experience with astrology, because I too was once a believer. Not a hardcore one by far, but I found real value in it as a teenager. I had fun learning the basics, and I always felt a strong connection with my big three, which I will not be disclosing in this video. I think I'll leave that to the professional practicing astrologers to figure out in the comments below. But if you want to know that badly, you can head over to the Patreon, where I'll be going in depth and saying how I think I align with my big three. But I'm not giving y'all the satisfaction or ammo to be in the comments like, oh, well, of course you would feel that way. You're blah, blah, blah. Girl, save it. But like I said, I genuinely enjoyed the feelings of discovery and enlightenment that came with learning more about this language of humanity that was seemingly written in the stars. But as I've gotten older and actually applied a critical lens to astrology, the inconsistencies and fallacies around it became harder to ignore. I found remembering the specifics of my sign and birth chart far too difficult and not very useful because of the sheer amount of information. It was way too much to remember and felt less like I was actually understanding myself and more like I was following a predetermined script of information scrambled together on the internet. And then
That's one of the things that you'll hear a lot about astrology, is how much information there is to remember. And at the end of the day, it is kind of like a science. Like, you have to understand the terms, you have to understand what you're looking at. A lot of it is like, especially once you get into like intermediate astrology, when you start looking at charts and everything, it's a lot about geometry and understanding angles, stuff like that. There's signs, there's modalities, there's divisional charts. So it's a lot to understand about astrology. And I'm not saying you have to understand every little aspect of astrology, but the more you learn about astrology, the more useful it becomes to you, the more you see its value. So just because you can't understand it, just because it's a lot to understand, doesn't devalue it. There's other sciences, especially like chemistry, remembering the periodic table, and then understanding how covalent bonds happen, understanding how it's just difficult. It's just a lot to know. It's a lot to piece together, and it's all interconnected. If you feel like it's just too much to remember and stuff like that, and that's why you're not turned on to astrology, I would say it's just something you have to put your mind to. Try to learn it at least, and then make a decision about it. Of course, it's going to be a lot, but there's YouTube videos you can look up, there's journals, books. So there's ways to learn this stuff, but if you're not serious about learning, you're not serious about understanding things, then you'll never understand it. And just because, again, it's a lot to learn, doesn't devalue it.
negative descriptions were more like the milquetoast inoffensive answers you would give to the "what's your greatest weakness?" question in a job interview. Oh, me? I just work too hard. As for the people around me who were into astrology, it always felt more like a bid for control and understanding the world and others without actually interacting with or experiencing them. Fundamentally, astrology is a way of talking about who you are and how you relate to other people, says Banu Guler, co-founder of the CoStar app, which I remember downloading when I was a teenager. But my question is, why do we need astrology to do those things? She goes on to say that it doesn't actually matter if astrology is real, but it encourages people to have really earnest conversations about who they are and what kinds of people they love and why they are having an emotionally hard time, which sounds wonderful. But in my opinion, astrology offers the exact opposite. Quick and vague explanations without further introspection or conversation. There are real scientific frameworks that can be used for self-discovery, like psychology, sociology, neuroscience, etc., but instead, astrology is the one that we're clinging to and gets promoted in the mainstream. This reminded me of my pop feminism video, where I talked about how concepts like feminism, and in this case astrology, often get diluted to the most surface level understanding. Both online astrology discourse and pop feminism reflect a broader trend where people gravitate toward concepts that are easy to digest, shareable, and emotionally validating. People love to act like
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, so the first point that she really brought up was how it's supposed to be like a tool for self-discovery. That's how it's supposed to be used, and that for some reason she feels like it's all just surface level. And again, it goes back to the fact that you have to understand what you're looking at and know what you're talking about. And she even pointed out that is like just like feminism, astrology gets boiled down to its very surface level beliefs, and sadly that's what you'll see a lot of enthusiasts even pushing, because a lot of people who are, you know, promoting astrology often don't understand it deeply. And that's not to, you know, put anybody down. That's just really to shed light on the situation, on what's happening here. These people don't have a real solid understanding of astrology. They're just kind of enthusiasts, and they're pushing out this surface level understanding. And then these people see the surface level understanding, and it doesn't really click because it's surface level. It's not supposed to. Uh, and again, it's a commercialized product in America too. So it has to be boiled down and simplified so the common reader can understand it, or it doesn't take up too much time to really sit down and boil down, you know, what time were you born and where were you born, because that's what it really takes to understand your astrological chart. She also brought up the founder of CoStar and how she said that if astrology isn't real, it doesn't matter because it's about having these conversations, these conversations about how we feel and how we are interacting with the world, and that's really what astrology is about. It can be applied in many ways, really, but most of the time people are looking for insights into themselves or looking into insights on how they fit into a situation. That's typically how most people are trying to use astrology, and it's a form of divination, which means that you're looking into a situation trying to gain information that you cannot gain on a conventional level, on a typical level. Again, you have to have a good understanding of these things, otherwise it won't be practical or applicable to you at all. So I understand the point, but at the same time, gotta look into it a little bit more. Just look into it a little bit.
They've done the research to support their beliefs, but actual research is not something that's actually valued or practiced in our society. What the average person considers to be research is more often than not a quick, cursory understanding of a topic that confirms their prior understanding and doesn't challenge them in any meaningful way. This is why reality TV shows like Love Island are often referred to as social experiments, but where is the control group? There isn't one because these aren't actual experiments, but acting like they are makes watching it seem much more justified. Realistically, most people don't have the time or motivation to dig deeper into these concepts, and wanting to participate in and enjoy these topics at your current understanding isn't inherently bad. But the problem is when these ideas are taken at face value and used as shields or justifications, because they can undermine personal accountability, critical thought, and genuine understanding. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people feel the need to clarify any thought they have or any action they take by prefacing it with an identity they have in order to justify it. Sometimes it's necessary, but more often than not, it just seems like a crutch and a way to remove agency. A shorthand way to explain who you are and what you do without further introspection or reflection. It's a given that
That's an interesting that's an interesting take. I feel like we make decisions based off of our identity though. Um for instance, if you're like a Christian, you probably believe in chastity. You'll say, I'm chaste. But you're not chaste. You're not literally the value of chaste. You're just identifying with that value. It's part of your identity. So that when a situation occurs, you're going to pull on this value that is a part of your identity. And from that identity, you'll be like, no, I don't want to go there with you, or yeah, I do want to go there with you. And it's all based off the value that you have, and that's how you build your identity. I understand what she's saying, how people kind of just use this as a way to not think about their values. They don't have that introspection, and they just go with whatever, you know, the stars say. And to a certain degree, I understand that. Like, a lot of people do just try to play off the fact that their star signs and whatever their placements, and that's why they're doing whatever they're doing. But it is a good reason for what they're doing. I really believe in astrology, so I really do think there's thought patterns and experiences that you're just fated to have, and sometimes you have to work through those things. And yeah, you have to take agency at some point in your life, but I don't think living in a low vibrational state is somehow inherently wrong, because that just might be part of your path, and I can see that within astrology. I can see your path sometimes. So I kind of teeter-totter on this, because it's like, yeah, I don't use my astrology signs for the reasons why I behave the way I behave. But when it comes down to understanding some of my inner workings and understanding the motivations, it's a good reminder for me to sit down and be like, oh yeah, this did happen in my past. Oh yeah, this did happen to me. Because sometimes you need that reminder to help those memories get going. Again, it's about understanding. It's really just about understanding how to use this in the first place. Because again, it gets boiled down to its most simplistic forms, and that's how people use it, and that's how people judge it. But again, if you try to do some deeper research, and that was something she also touched on. I'm gonna get back. I'm not gonna do this whole video. It's gonna be short, guys. But she was also talking about how people don't do deeper research and stuff like that, and I can agree to that to a certain extent. But that shouldn't be a fault for you. You know, she said it's not inherently wrong for you to go ahead and have these conversations that you don't have much information on, but I think it is. I think it is kind of wrong for you to knowingly not do research and then try to talk on something. And then she said sometimes the research is just a quick Google search. Sometimes a quick Google search is all you need, though. Sometimes, like if you're higher, maybe I should have said that. But if you really understand things well, sometimes a simple Google search can really help you get you straight. But yeah, when it comes to astrology, you never understood it, you never tried to understand things like this, then you will have to go deeper within it. And if she did that, I ain't trying to throw shade, but if she had did that, then she would understand that that's a subsect of people. That's not everybody who uses astrology, and there is a lot of agency that comes into place when it comes into astrology. And then you start talking about transits, and transits is basically what's happening in the sky right now and how it relates to your birth chart. You understand transits and how transits are an opportunity for you to choose a new path. When certain planets touch and communicate, they offer you a new path. They offer you choices. They offer you new opportunities and experiences. And then in those experiences, you have the agency to make choices. And those choices will lead to growth. And you will be set down another path for new experiences. It's all very meta. It's all very metacognition. It's all very metaphysical. So if you're not already mindset like that, if you're kind of somebody who's more conventional and very earthly, you're not very spiritual, then it will be harder for you to grasp these concepts and then also see through who actually understands these concepts and be able to make a distinction when it comes to what's true, what's practical, and what's just people using excuses, and what's people just what's the word, being performative. It takes a lot of research into these things, but that's kind of what this nature, this area, this study kind of encourages. It encourages you to do research and do introspection, not just research the world around you, but inside too. But let's get back into it, because I've been talking
Single part of
too
your
long.
identity informs how you act, and you don't constantly have to disclaim it and further stigmatize that identity because you don't want to take accountability for your actions. There are so many examples of this, but for today's discussion, let's just focus on zodiac signs. We've all heard it. Sorry, I'm such a Leo, or I know I'm such a Virgo, right? If your identity is written in the stars and you genuinely believe it's informing everything you do, it can be really hard to find the agency and resolve to change your own behavior. And that, my friends, is where the danger lies. So what is astrology? Britannica defines it as a form of divination, using the positions of the stars, sun, moon, and planets to forecast and explain human affairs on the belief that celestial movements shape our fates. Astrology and astronomy were historically very closely linked, but they split during the scientific revolution when one side could be tested and verified through the scientific method, while the other stayed rooted in anecdotal evidence and mythology. Astronomy, the actual study of celestial objects is a legitimate science. Astrology, on the other hand, is a pseudoscience or a system that tries to explain the physical world but cannot be verified using the scientific method. These beliefs continue to be popular because believers point to unexplained phenomena as evidence, but its evidence never goes beyond the anecdotal. And for its believers, it doesn't have to.
But we have plenty of anecdotal, I guess you could say, evidence.
In the hook of the video, I had that TikTok of the girl saying, because astrology ends with the suffix ology, it is a study, which therefore makes it a legit thing that you can't not believe. And I think that line of thinking should speak for itself, but I will dissect it regardless. Obviously, ology does mean the study of, but you can literally study anything. That doesn't make it legit to just be. You can study mythology, theology. You could literally study Dungeons and Dragons lore for 20 years. Studying something doesn't automatically make its claims true.
Science is anything that can be applied to the practical realm. I know we were saying a lot of talk about, oh, this is interpretive, or this could be used for predictive measures, but it is something that is practical, right? I have to use math and I have to use other basic science skills in order to pull up a chart. I'm looking at degree placement, right?
I think that fields could use science and still not be science. You could use math and science and it still not be a science.
I think D&D is a great example, actually. I've never played it, but I have friends who do, and they love it. It sounds great. It's a hobby that provides people with escapism, ritual, community, and a framework for building and understanding characters and, in turn, themselves. But nobody's out here arguing that D&D lore has a real basis in reality or that your alignment chart says something true about you and your soul, because it doesn't need to still be meaningful. It gets to matter because everyone playing is in on the fact that it's made up, but it brings them real value. And that is valid even if the game itself isn't real. But astrology lovers seem to want it both ways. They want the cultural weight of being a real system with placements, degrees, retrogrades, and technical vocabulary that mimics science. But the second anyone questions its validity, they retreat to the, oh, well, it's just symbolic and it's just for fun. And it's more interpretive than predictive, which literally eliminates it from being considered a science. But I don't know why I'm acting like the definition of something means something to these people. The problem I have is that people
that it's a good argument to have. The scientific method, while it is very useful and practical, it is just a tool that humans developed to understand the world around us. It is very useful and very successful, but at the same time it can't control every variable, and that's the problem that you have when you're trying to test certain things. And that's especially true when it comes to like social experiments or psychology and stuff like that. It's hard to really control each and everything that can be a factor. So those experiments and those tests often get ran a lot of times and often get disregarded a lot of times just because of how hard it is to actually apply the scientific method to it. But we know there is some type of scientific process behind psychology. We know there's some type of scientific process behind socialization because of cause and effect. How you were raised will translate into how you interact socially, but it's hard to understand and control those factors when all we have is like personal testimony, right? Anecdotal experiences. So while I will say yes, astrology is very reliant on anecdotal experiences, there are examples of people actually making predictions in the world that came true. I forgot their names, but it was in a newspaper. It was a woman. She was an astrologer. I think it was like 1929, and she made a prediction that the stock market would crash. She used the United States birth chart to determine that United States was going to have some financial problems, hard financial problems, and it came true within her timeline. There was another man, and he wrote in his book in 2011. He wrote this book in 2011, and he wrote talking about how in 2020 there would be some type of problem, a big problem. And he said it specifically. I don't want to say it just because, the platform, but he said specifically there was going to be this big problem in 2020, and sure enough, it came true. So while there is a lot of anecdotal experience, it is predictive. It is. You can predict the future with it if you know what you're doing and know how to use it. But again, that comes with higher knowledge. That comes with deep study. Like he said before with the clip, we're using degrees. We're looking at things and we're watching patterns more than anything because we don't really have the opportunity to control factors. We just have the opportunity to record what's happening when these factors are in play. So that's kind of how we collect data within astrology. It's not the typical data collection that you have. There's been a lot of things that were considered pseudoscience, like rogue waves, these I believe thousands feet tall. I think they can get just thousands of feet tall, random waves for no reason. And for a long time, people thought it was just sailor myths, just people telling tall tales so they could say they ran into something. But I believe once we had the technology, it was recorded that, yeah, rogue waves exist. They're real. They're not just tales. They're, even though scientifically it doesn't make too much sense, they actually happen. So sometimes you do have to just really look into something and experience it, even though scientifically it can't be proven, because at the end of the day, we're just humans, and the scientific method is just a tool. It's not a end all be all to what constitutes truth and false, real and fake. So I understand the point, but at the same time, if you think about it a little bit harder, there is some real truth to be found in astrology. And again, there's a lot of enthusiasts and not serious practitioners. So if you get in touch with a serious practitioner, you'll see how astrology can be very predictive to the day within your life.
People insist that the meaning making is also literally empirically true and scientific, right up until it's inconvenient to defend. And the thing that bothers me the most is that people aren't even actually studying astrology. For as much as they want to defend it, they aren't even actually invested in the practice themselves. They're just collecting bits and pieces that confirm their worldview and working backwards from there. They find a compatibility chart here, a TikTok explaining why all Geminis act like this over there, and a new set of tarot cards, which I'm not hating on tarot cards. I actually want a new set, but mostly because I just think the art styles are really cool. But like I said, I'm not going to spend more time debunking astrology because plenty of people have already done that, and it's honestly the least interesting direction that this essay could go. But I will be linking a bunch of those videos and resources in the description below if you are interested.
So that's all we're gonna watch from her. Again, she kind of doubled down on the fact that people don't really know what they're doing with it, and they just cherry pick information for their own use. And yeah, that's a lot of people. They're not serious astrologers, so try to look into it a little bit deeper for yourself. No hate towards her. I just really think if we think deeper about these things, then we can get over these misconceptions that we see online and see in the media about astrology, because there is real truth there, but it's clouded in misconceptions, it's clouded in simplicity, and it's clouded in a misunderstanding, just a general misunderstanding on a global scale. So really try to understand it for yourself. Do some more research, because I think you could find a lot of truth in it. And again, as a practicing astrologer, I understand that some people are here and they will never understand astrology. Some people are here to really just be a part of this life, to really understand what life is as an earthly thing, not life as a spiritual thing. So I believe we all have souls, and we're training our souls to go back to the source. It's a lot. I can get into that in maybe my next video for sure, because I'm back at making videos. Anyway, I just wanted to make this real quick. I'm gonna start talking about astrology and spirituality, my beliefs and stuff like that a little bit more. I'm gonna start doing just me talking videos. I might still have reaction videos just like this. I just want to talk about some deeper things on here. Also, I'm gonna start doing TikTok too. I've been recently on TikTok. I'm gonna talk about that in my next video, where I've been and what I've been doing. But yeah, anyway, if you like what I got going on here, make sure you drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm gonna be having these type of conversations all the time. If you like deeper conversations, deeper thoughts about music, social culture, philosophy, religion, I talk about a lot of stuff, but it's always hard-hitting, heavy-hitting stuff, because I like to talk about deeper things. So anyway, until next time, guys, peace out.